What's up, everybody? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and welcome to The Right Mindset. It is Sunday, March 22nd, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are live. That's right. Every weekend we go live, and today is specifically Write a Book with Me from Concept to Completion. We are in episode 63, so you're probably here to watch me do the rundown. We're going to be writing, and so forth. So you're probably... and so on. All right. Before we get into it, we're going to say hi to everyone. I've been talking to everybody in the thing, so we're going to just go to the bottom and just get everybody a big hello. Look, you can't go wrong with cheese, Diana, but you also have to watch it. Be safe out there. We're always rooting for everybody to stay safe and stay healthy, my friend. Always sending energy out there. All right. Hey, Cindy. Thank you. What's up, SB? Hello, Emma. Hey, everybody. All right. So today we are back at it. We are going to be writing as always. Let's get to it. Boop. So we are, for everybody who's out there, let's explain what's going on. If this is your first time ever jumping in, hey, what's up, Angel Faye? Sorry, Caps, you're always yelling. No, all right. Okay, so if you've never been here before and you're like, what is going on? What we do is I've been writing a book from concept to conception, concept to completion. Basically using my process. I am not saying this is the process you should use or that is the right process. I'm just saying this is my process. And I'm giving you a deep dive behind the process, real time. And I'm showing it on the screen. So we get to see everything. Oh, and also you get to ask questions. If you see me doing something and you have a thought or an idea and you want to be like, hey, what's going on? Can you teach me? I will happily explain it. If you have questions about your own writing while I'm doing this, I am a developmental editor and a writing teacher, so feel free to get the free advice. Just ask and I shall provide. All right. Oh, flowers. Everyone's here. All right. Again, if you have never seen this series before, we are on the process number 10. We are on step number 10, first draft, prose, dialogue, and immersion. We've been working on that. You could go back and watch the beginning of the series, and you'll see that we did all 9 steps already. We're technically on chapter 3, but it is called 1.3 because I broke up chapter 1 into 3 specific chapters. Cindy Flowers. Geez, YouTube didn't refresh. Before we get into the big jump of it, remember there's always a poll. We will always talk about the poll at the end of the hour. What drains your motivations to keep writing or working on the same story? We have 4 choices here. We have burnout, pure burnout, meaning like I am done. I have been writing for so long, I can't do it anymore. We have negative feedback when people are just like, it's not good. You need to edit this. When you get advice and suggestions. And you're like, oh, you just don't understand. I need to have the monkey and the water buffalo fight each other. New story, and they're like, no, it's not good. New story idea that excites me, and of course, long pause between writing sessions. So we'll talk about that more at the end of the hour. What do we got here? We'll just look at the conversation, then we'll jump right into it. I hit the bloop. Trying to beat Emmett. That's right. If you didn't know, you gotta bloop that beard and bloop that like button. You gotta loop doo doo. Oh, hey, Hannah, what's up about last Saturday? I was up visiting my mother. My madre. That's all right, Hannah. We missed you, but we're glad you're back. Hello, Hannah. Hannah. Okay. Woo. Uh-oh, the cat's here. All right, here we are. Bloop, 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 the beard. I almost shaved the beard off today. You're all lucky I'm lazy. All right. So, as you can see, chapter 1-3. Again, I'm going to explain things as I work on it as best I can. But again, for anybody who hasn't been here before, the reason I have this as chapter 1.3 is because when I was working on the extended outline into the 0 drafts, I just tried to say, hey, this is chapter 1, chapter 2, whatever it is. But as I got into the first draft, I realized that the 3 scenes in chapter 1 needed to be broken up into 3 separate chapters for a few reasons. I chose pace, very important. I chose purpose or theme or goal of a chapter. So remember, all chapters need a beginning, middle, and end. You don't want to always go too deep into a chapter and continuing to create beginning, middle, and ends. Because even if you have a chapter with 3 scenes, those scenes can be separated as far as like you don't have to have two of the same characters in the second scene, and you don't even have to have any of those characters in the third scene. But the theme of the chapter or the purpose of the chapter must maintain a beginning, a middle, and end. So that's something to think about. And I realized that the first chapter, I could technically take those scenes and turn them into our own chapters. Two Face. All right, so we got some down. I think we have what 800 and some, 46, 40 something. Let's see, where are we number wise? Ooh, 887. I was way off. Uh oh, we got some. What do we got? Oh, I had a hilarious Thursday last week because I went to go to the shower buildings, and right in the corner was a fully naked man dummy, and I turned around for it to. Interesting. Interesting. I've been there. I was laughing as well. Yeah, whenever I look in the mirror, that's what I go. Ah! I don't know why I would be naked, but I am usually a fully stuffed dummy. All right, let's keep it going. I know too. You could come join us. We like you. We like when you're here. All right, so I'm writing out these plot beats. These are from the Zero Draft, which are just extensions of the extended outline and the short form outline. And I basically want to write to this, in this, and out of it. Sometimes I sort of just use the thing I wrote and then we worry about it later. The other thing you're going to notice is I don't really care about it being pretty right now. It is, again, a first draft. The whole goal is to sort of get get the writing out and to get those passages out, to get the dialogue, and to try to figure out who these characters are and feel like. I stood up anyway, leaning on the table to catch his balance. I got this. Father clanked to the back door slider, letting. And by the way, as you can see, I also don't care about having all the information. I will get to all the information. It takes a little bit. It also had a fake wig and eyes on. I've been there. So I actually outlined my story like you did, and now I'm writing my story. Hey, congratulations! All right. I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you're getting into it. All right. All right, let's see. I don't have a name for the sister though. I definitely want to get a sister's name. Congratulations, Hannah. Hasani. I'm on chapter 5. Woo, way to go. Yeah. Yeah, we like to celebrate and elevate people here. All right, so I don't have a name for the sister, but I'm just doing this because that's how I would start it. Sister's name. All right. Good for you. I've written lots of backstory. Helps me figure out my characters. Lets me go into the characters. Congratulations so much for getting those words out. All right. Uh, beside my mother. My mom. All right, let's see. Again, I'm not trying to write beautiful. I don't even care like if it looks clean. Um, I could sit here and really like go deep into it, but it's like gonna slow down the writing. Like I could sit here and go, the last of the dishes, I could just go, the dishes clattered, or this is clattered in the full sink. Um, right, and then I could just go like this. Okay. One second. All right. Dishes clattered in the full sink, shuffled over in a pile. All right. I don't know. A pile. That's fine for now. Whatever. Dishes clattered in a full sink and shuffled over in a pile. My mother had her eye on it. Okay. What we got here? Oh, we got my mother. My father. Right, like I could keep working it like that, but honestly, that's really like a second. I would even argue it's a third draft kind of thing, like to just keep digging at the sentences. But if you notice, like I shrank the piece down, so we lost some words, which is good. Excuse me, I need some water. Uh, what I'm saying is, when you're writing, don't you don't what I just did. You don't have to do that. I did it as an example. You shouldn't be worrying about that when you're on your first draft. You shouldn't be really super analyzing stuff. For example, like Sister sat back, he stood. I'm doing a pretty good job as far as starting off with names or my. But like even yeah, I'm pretty good with that naturally, but only because I practice. I practice trying to avoid that. But if you're writing a first draft and it's like Dan, he, him, Dan, like if each paragraph started off like that, like every passage was like that, don't worry about that as a first draft. However, I would recommend that in a second or third, I try to really clean things up in the third draft. Change these, get rid of Dan every single time, But it's also the same with your passages. If you're reading passages, let's see if I did it here. All right, yeah, here's a good example. I could see it deflate in the thing. He was thankful but not happy. For someone who worked most of his life, been in a war, I can feel his frustration. I wouldn't be happy slowing down either. I get it. I really do. We love him. All right. So maybe on a third draft, I would try to focus on changing that up. I would change up the repetitive I. It's not that you can't do it or shouldn't do it. The reason I would focus on maybe cleaning that up, depending. But the rhythm of, I get it, I really do. Like the rhythm of it is good, but maybe just changing this one. I wouldn't be happy slow. Who would be happy slowing down? I get it. I really do. Who would really be happy slowing down? I get it. I really do. Right? Like that small adjustment to me just makes me feel better. It allows for a smoother read in my mind. But again, this is still a first draft. But those are things I'm going to be looking for in my third draft. However, while you're writing your first draft, I wouldn't really put too much weight into that. Just get the passages out. Stop in and say, hey, can hang out and play today. Great options on the poll. Can't just pick one. What's up, bro? Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Be safe out there, especially if you're working. All right, dishes clattered in a full sink and shuffled over in a pile. All right, my mother had a silent watch on my father. Uh, on my father. Poor guy struggled to get from the back the door. All right. All right. I spell it right? Klutz. He was a klutz. Oh, interesting. Klutz is actually a slang word. It's supposed to be spelled like that. Oh, it's Yiddish. That makes sense. You know, they say schmeckel is Yiddish for schmeckel. All right. Oh, I could use klutz. Klutz is another version of it with the C. However, it is still Yiddish, so I might want to change that. Because they obviously wouldn't be Yiddish here. Oh, let's see. What? That's true. That's true. I'm klutzy too. Yeah, maybe klutz is all right. Maybe you're not. Well, according to your story, yes, you did fall, but that doesn't mean you are klutzy. Hello, Ro. What's up, everybody? Hey, Afghani, man. Absolutely great to see you. It's true. Schmeckel is Yiddish for schmeckel. I think I'm gonna just leave klutz. I think the Klutz would be one. All right. He stepped into the cabinet sign. Klutz, yeah. I'm often accident prone too. This is why I normally walk around with a helmet. Look, it happens. All right. All right. I think he. All right. Is grown, reached me. All right, I'm doing this actually for a lesson here. So, what is a head hopping, right? So, how's your book cover coming, Afghani? Ready and loaded. We'll be out hopefully this week. That's fantastic. Let's give you a big applause. Applause for the Afghani. Awesome. All right, so here's an example of what head hopping looks like. So it is first person. It's supposed to be in Laura's POV. She's the main protagonist. His head groaned, or his groan ached in his stretch. All right. How do we know it ached? How do we know how he felt groaning in his stretch? And these are little things you should be looking for when you're in a second or third draft. Maybe not so much in your first draft. Again, you just sort of want to write it, but I wanted to give a little jump on perspective. And the reason is because this puts us inside their feelings, like how they are experiencing Remember, story is the how the plot moves through the emotional experience and choices of your characters. So this is an experience. This becomes story, but it's not his story. It's Laura's story. So you could say my father groaned as he stretched. I don't think I need the ed. Eh. Cabinet, or maybe I do need. I don't know. So what that does, it allows it now to maintain the POV of Laura. She is acknowledging that her father is groaning as he stretched. So it's what she is seeing and witnessing. Although I am procrastinating a lot these last few days, still need to finish the final edit. Well, Afghani, a little advice for you, good sir, is don't rush the edit if it's klutz. Yeah, gotta get to this. All right, as he stretched and leaned his back on. Hey, what's up, goo hungers? Hello, do English using people use secondary quotation marks? What person and repeating what fourth person said earlier? Oh yeah, if you go if you go like this, like I heard Jim say other day, what's with the dog? All I could do is give him the stink face. Who doesn't like a dog? You would do it like that, yeah. So if you're going to quote somebody within quotes, like dialogue, you would do the single quotes. However, and I know there are some British people out there, isn't there a thing with the single quotes? Right? Am I? Maybe that's an old rule, right? Do they use single quotes? Narrative writing. Dialogue, right? I think yes, single quote marks are traditionally used for dialogue in British narrative writing, while double quotes are standard in American English. British literature commonly use single quotes for dialogue, with double quotes used for nesting quotes within the dialogue, which would be this would be backwards then. It would be this. So, but again, I don't write, so I could be horribly wrong with that. But so if you're writing and you have so Brits do it the other way, yeah. Well, according to what I know and what I just looked up to verify it, but again, I'm not from Britain, and the thing is, when you hear people write, there's like I think it's color, right? So let me just double check that color spelling. Yeah, all right. So color is the British spelling, right? And when you're writing, there is a check that goes through the editing process where you're trying to make sure that the you're using, if you're writing for the states or America or whatever US, if you're writing for them, there's a certain text that you would use. However, if you're writing excuse me, if you're writing a period piece where the dialogue would say color, but you're using the narrative to say color, you can probably get away with that. But you do have somebody go through to make sure that because sometimes I'll use, I do slip into certain word spellings that I like. They look prettier or better, but at the same time, you want to keep it consistent, right? But it does come down to your author voice. We were talking about that yesterday. You got to make choices, but that is something to think about. I always use double, but my editor changes them to single. I'm UK. All right, yeah, single just feels wrong to me. Yeah, yeah, so it is definitely. And by the way, hello, Laura. Uh, yeah, so I would say it's a definitely should be a choice, but it is a style depending on where you're writing it. But it is interesting that you, being from the UK, do like the double, but your editor's like, no. I get that though. I get it. You should be like, no, leave it alone. This is I want my style. Single feels wrong to me too. Oh yeah, because you're. Yeah, I checked a while ago, and the consensus was that whatever you want, so long as yes, correct, yeah. So again, if you're going to use the word color, you got to be consistent with the other style of words too, like uh other British words that change in English narrative. So like color would be it. Lift. Well, lift is elevator. A lorry is a truck, right? So like there's also the terminology would be different too. Post is for what we would call mail or snail mail or delivery mail. Holiday is really a vacation. So you also have to be curious of that. So if you're in the States and you're writing with the British words, you feel free to do that. But remember, as I have learned over my time, with a new audience, pants is underwear in US, right? Pants in the UK is what you would call your underwear. So you have to be consistent with the style in which you choose. So that's something to think about when you're writing. This feels wrong to me, and I'm Canadian. Imagine your main character, thir- thir- threeth person, wants to retell what he heard, conversation between two people. He can do it while he himself is doing something, and he is making funny voices to act them out. Yeah, well, you could. Yeah. Yeah, you could have. Yeah, yeah. There could be another character that overhears people and then retells the story using funny verses. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been writing with double quotes for a gazillion years, but Flowers, you're like only 40, if that. Uh, I am also, in my mind, 16. So the dinosaur don't want to change his spots. I don't call them pants. I call them pantalones. Pantalone. All right. Oh, I could get rid of this. What about my baby girl? I'm fine. All right. We want to get this dialogue over here. Maybe I could do this. No. All right. You keep crashing the ship. Never looking up from her game. Oh, we got a whole bunch of stuff. All right, what we got here? Gazillion years. Oh. For that, I use single within the double quotes, the dialogues, and puts the Mickey talking words in italics. Oh, the Mickey. Look at me. All right. Don't call them pants. Okay. I tossed the dry rag on it. Now again, this is a first draft, so like this kind of behavior, I'm just trying to find the characters. But in a second draft, I would really analyze these things. I wouldn't just keep what I have written. I do sort of like overanalyze, but in my third draft, it's kind of worth it for me. Because I've already done the work to get the narrative right. So now it's all about like the choices I'm making, right? The character choices and trying to see it. But I'm also showing behavior. I'm trying to show their relationship. The young sister is being like a little annoying, but that I allowed the dry brag, play a stupid game. You know that they're playing around and not necessarily being aggressive. Thomas, after your zero draft is done, have you ever written prose and found your story taking a different direction? If so, do you go back and out? So what's funny about that is I never go back to outline again. I'll whatever the outline was, it was, and if I have to change it as per what you're suggesting, and I have done that, and I will continue to do that, is that I allow the narrative to sort of go where it needs to go because I'm always trying to serve the narrative. There are certain things that maybe the outline has that I definitely want to play with, but the play around with that is as you're writing, make sure that the plot is leading towards the big finale or the big midpoint conflict or whatever. Um, but if the characters' behaviors and like for example, in Death of a King, while I was working on the first act, there were a couple chapters that I ended up adding because I realized the behavior and the emotional through line of the characters was slightly changing as I worked out the first draft, believe it or not. So when I got to the second draft and then the third draft, I had to adjust it. The same thing happened with the second act as it did with the third act. I had to add chapters or rearrange chapters, or I had to add just a scene to a chapter. I will not allow myself to be stifled by what I have written because in reality, when we come up with an idea and we outline it, and this is just a general understanding of the creative process. We come up with an idea, it sounds solid, but if you're doing the broad general ideas to start in the short form outline, it's just going to be a couple of lines. It's going to be like a sentence, maybe 3 sentences of this is happening and this person is this doing this, and then the inciting incident is this happens and it happens to somebody else or whatever. It's very simple. So when you get to the extended outline, you're adding to that. You're thinking about rhythm. You're thinking about what is this chapter about? How do I break up? How do I develop this concept? For example, the alien narrative. The first thing is, the protagonist works at a dead end job as an accountant and hates their life, and they're secretly in love with the girl who works next to them, and their best friend is there, and they hate their boss. That's like the short form outline, right? That's just the first plot point. And then I have to say, all right, I have to show that. So how many chapters do I need to establish that? The work relationship, their feelings, how crappy the job is, and that they hate their boss. So I might extended outline will be just sort of like exploring those into chapter beats. But again, it's still broad in general. So by the time I get to the zero drafts, which for anyone who doesn't know, it looks like this. This is what it's just bullet points. And it's usually I'll have some dialogue, but usually it's very telling. It's just I'm looking at the rhythms, right? And at that point, again, it's just plot. Plot is what needs to happen. So while I am developing the characters in my first draft, I'm starting to learn things. I'm learning their behavior. And at the end of the day, the characters are going to character. So if by the time I get to the last chapter, right? And by the way, by the third act, you should really be locking down who your characters are. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's who you want them to be, the third act would really show them. So when I go back to do the second draft, I now have to take that emotional truth or who these characters are in their positions and put it back and filter it through. And by doing that, my second act might end up having more chapters, a chapter removed, a scene completely changed, beats, because you have to build to that new emotional truth, the emotional truth that you're like, I have found my character, and that happens. Thank you. I have found sometimes that my character chooses something different because they aren't who I thought they were in the outline, or they act differently, stronger, or more timid. Yeah, my straight advice for that, even for anyone I'm working with, or if I'm working with a team or whatever I'm doing, if the outline is like they're an accountant, the aliens show up, right? Like from they're an accountant to alien shows up, all the behavior could be whatever it wants, but those aliens are going to show up no matter what. So if I originally thought the character had a dead end job and hated their job, but as I'm writing it, I'm like, well, maybe they like their job. Maybe they don't like their boss because they feel like the boss doesn't really see what they're doing. So now that changes sort of what the original idea was. But the aliens are still going to show up for the inciting incident. You know what I'm saying? Um, Another plot point beat in that alien story, which is a live video that I have up. It's also in the book, the 27 plot point outline. Uh, the the protagonist will find out that the boss is actually an alien disguise. So getting to that point can be whatever I want it to be. The behaviors could do whatever, but the plot has the plot. The boss will be revealed to be an alien, but that doesn't change how I get to that. And I think that is a difficult thing I had to learn when I was first starting out when it came to plot versus story. Plot is like they discover the gold, but how they get to discover the gold is the story. That can change as much as you want. You can make the characters do whatever you want them to do, but at the end of the day, you need them to discover the gold, right? Because if you take away the gold, now you're not writing the same story, which, by the way, is also fine. If in your heart you're like, I don't really care about the treasure, and nor do my characters, then I would start thinking about a new outline because the story is now complete. It is a different plot. You know what I'm saying? If it's like for example, if you've ever seen Avengers, spoiler alert, Loki comes to Earth with an army. So if I'm like working on the characters and the characters end up changing, and I'm like, you know what, Loki doesn't come with an army. You know, I think Loki would just do it on his own. That's still technically the same plot. They have to fight Loki, and Loki's trying to take over the city, right? But if by doing it you go, you know what? No, Loki ends up becoming a friend. Uh, well, now it's not about Loki taking over the city. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you would have to be like, all right, maybe I'm writing a different story. Maybe the original. So the simple advice is allow the characters to do whatever they want, but try to lead them, or at least allow their behavior to lead towards those narrative nodes, as I call them, those plot beats, those this must happen no matter what. But how they get there, that could be whatever you want it to be, you know? All right. Play a stupid game. You keep crashing. Ship. Sister's dead, never looking up for a game. You'll be making payments. Transfers. I'm gonna come up with a different name than college. Mm. Let's put cheek on. Oh, cheek. I needed to make money, right? So that was the original beat we had, right? I needed to make money. All right, so let's get here. Let's see what the other beats are. Maybe that's how I could do. Laura should mention that the crashes are more controlled than at first. Maybe that's how you're supposed to. Oh, that's funny. All right, let me. Okay. My mother. Mm, All right. So basically, what I'm doing. By the way, if anyone's joining in, feel free to ask questions. I have no problem answering questions. If you have questions about what I'm doing or you have questions about your own writing, feel free to jump in. Also, just a reminder, there is a poll. We do talk about the poll at the end of the hour. Let me just do a quick reminder. What drains your motivation to keep writing or working on the same story? We have pure burnout. We have negative feedback, even a little. That's people just telling you what you're doing is not working, and you kind of like, new story idea that excites me, and of course, long pause between writing sessions. All right. All right. So let's. All right. How about you focus on not crashing? All of the above. Oh, for the what stops you from writing? That's fair. That's fair. Boop, boop. All right. My father actually hobbled over besides my mother scooting her. Yeah. All right. Me, 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 me. The crashes are more like controlled. Oh wait, the crashes are more controlled. Yeah, more controlled than at first. That's how you. Oh, that's a joke. Maybe that's how you're supposed to land ships. All right, so I'm actually going to add a beat here for the father because remember he was somebody who worked on the mechanic stuff. You know, he was like an engineer. Crashes are. That's not how you land a ship. Was this Laura's planet lost the war in 476 DR? I have to figure out what year it currently is, but there are veterans of the war currently. Make sure to note that. What we got here? We got 44 minutes. We're doing pretty good. Anyway. So I got these last two beats. Paying for new ship. Now, that is what exposition feels like. And again, it's just the first draft. So I'm just getting the note in there or the beat in there. And then when I get to a second draft or a third draft, that's where I'm going to start trying to filter those things a little bit better. But I just want to get through the notes. How we doing? How we doing with writing? Let's see. I'll do it now. Sit. We got this. He just ate. He stood up. Okay. Oh, we got 300 words so far. All right, that's not bad. Actually, let's do this. Shipping stuff. All right, so we probably don't know who's saying this, so. Now, again, this is a first draft, so what am I thinking while I'm writing this? Well, I know that this beat, this action could be cleaner. I know I could probably say it with less words. You know, said my mother snatching, the dry rag for me, drying the dish. Like I might be able to make that a little cleaner, but right now I don't care. I just want that beat. I just want that beat so I can just get the feel of the characters, feel their behavior. I'm trying to create a relationship with the parents without having to go into like telling. Um, you know, so they're all very comfortable around each other. They all have like a rhythm. The father's cleaning the dishes, the mother's drying them, and now Laura, the character, the main protagonist, isn't so much. All right, let's get to this beat. Writing. All right. Let's get the mother's voice into that. My mother said, oh, mother said. I should just say mother. Mother said. You could be a writer. Sure. It's, hard thing to put time into. Mother said. You could be writing, sure, and I think you'd be wonderful. 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 I think that's sad. I think it should be there. Just, I know you. It's a hard thing to put time into. Period. You're doing great with ship thing, and your father and I are proud of you. Stick to that. All right. So that's a lot of talky, but again, for first draft, we're just trying to get out the rhythm and the idea. this is how you have to kind of like give yourself that mantra. It's a first draft. I'm just working it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't have to feel like I'm using the best words right now. I just need to get the beat out. I need to see what it looks like, cuz once you could see it and then I could go back, like even just reading it, I know my brain is, dishes clattered in a full sink and shuffled over in a pile. My mother had a silent watch on my father. Poor guy struggled to get back from the door. There's a lot of interesting movement there, like as far as like visually, but I know that those sentences, I could probably slow down the narrative by making this its own passage and then give this its own passage. So right off the bat, I know I could probably do this and then turn this into something. I could add some sensory elements. I could talk about, maybe the dish, the sound of the dishes. Maybe I know I have clatter there, but I mean the sound. Maybe there's some spillage. Maybe the mother goes to grab the dishes while they're falling, right? Because then it starts creating behavior. It starts creating a natural movement. It starts creating, you know, a sense of place, right? Because the environment needs to feel like a sense of place. And then my mother had a silent. So if her mother's on it, maybe Laura is the one who like goes to stop the plates from falling, and the sound of the plates and the noise doesn't distract the mother from looking at the father, which then becomes behavior. It's telling or showing, I should say, it's showing the reader the mother cares about the husband so much that the distraction of the plates aren't pulling her away from the love of her life, and she's watching her husband struggle. But Laura is watching this, and we need that because it's important, because Laura's "I want to be a romance writer" comes from her parents' relationship. She likes her parents' relationship, and they have a really romantic relationship, even though they have kids and they're quote unquote older. It's still there, the spark, right? Um, so in a first draft, none of that's coming through. That's not coming through there, right? But the seeds of those ideas are there, and those are things I would think about. And I'm thinking about it now, but I know if I put too much time and focus on it, I, I'm just going to overload the first draft, because you have to remember the most important rule of this process. I'm going to have to read this and I'm going to have to take notes, all right? And I'm going to have other people read it. So the less they have to read to make sense of it, the easier it is to get notes out of it and the easier it is to get work. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to have to add and adjust things for the second draft, as I will the third draft. So instead of putting all of my marbles into the bag and all of the work into making it really beautiful, and then realizing in the second draft I have to take a scene out, I have to add a scene, I have to take a chapter out, I have to move a chapter. By moving the chapter, I have to adjust the beginning. By moving the chapter, I might have to adjust the ending, which means I might have to adjust the beginning of the next chapter. So in my mind, if I put all that work into this and I add all the prettiness and I sit here and I focus on every little line, and then I have to get rid of it in the second draft, or I have to then I that. So the question today is, what what drains your motivation? That would drain and has drained in the past my motivation, because I'm like, oh, I got to do all of this work. Which, by the way, when you hear the word rewrite, sometimes when you don't know what that means, the first thought we have as writers, which I had when I was starting out, was like, I have to rewrite the whole thing, which isn't really the case. The rewrite means that you have to go through and clean it up. But again, if I'm doing the tons of work and then I realize I have to adjust things, it's like extra work that I feel I don't really need to do. And that's why I like to sort of do a little at a time. I like to expand on things. But that's me. That's me. That is just my process. And I'm not saying that is the right process. It's just the process I like. All right. For now. Okay, we got it is the writing process. That's right. It is the right process. That's perfect. I love it. I love it. It is the right process. Okay. All right. You know what? I'm actually going to take away this beat and I'm actually going to change the beat to, you know, we would have helped you buy the model up. Okay. All right. Okay. 1 second. What's this? I choose the new ideas, but I would also choose all of them because my mind can't apparently make itself up. I get that. I get that. It's really the survey. The polls are just whatever the biggest or the most idea. The most idea. Stop that. Uh, all right, let's just get this last beat out and we'll call it done. All right, so first year was Joe. Yeah, I know. I know. Drink. Let's say water. By the way, I could say drink. Let's just do this as an exercise. I could say drink, right? I know that. I knew that. I could say drink, but when you're going through and you're doing your second draft or your third draft or whatever draft you're on after this, remember it is about adding more immersion in the second draft. So more immersion means to become more specific. So if in your first draft you just write drink, that is fine. But I would recommend adding a little because it's an opportunity, right? I last of my instead of saying right, I could say Pepsi, right? But since it's space, you could call it Epsi. Finish my Epsi, and then you could add the immersion. You know, the fizz tickled at my throat. Okay. All right, so there you go, and then we could add the first year was. Oh wait, okay. Let's just again. Maybe. Do the chapters have to be long in the first draft? That's a great question. The chapters do not have to be long or short or medium. Remember, the thing that you're trying to accomplish when you're writing a chapter is that it definitely, without a doubt, has a beginning, middle, and end. The beginning needs a set of context and information that at least establishes the narrative through line of the chapter. And then you need the middle, which is the conflict. You're going to push back on the details and information that were set up in the beginning, right? And you're going to add to it. It doesn't always have to be directly a challenge to what is absolutely set up, but the emotional truth that is set up in the beginning is what you can challenge. Or you could challenge positions of characters. Point is, there needs to be a challenge. And then you need to resolve the narrative forward, which means whatever the situation is within the conflict, it needs to be resolved, or at least the potential for resolution needs to be accomplished, which means they find or they get a touch of idea that leads them to go, oh, maybe, okay, I could fix something or whatever. In the next chapter, I could use that information. So right off the bat, you need to begin, a middle, and end. The other thing you need is you got to make sure the characters are doing stuff. So you need character arcs. You need to sip that in. You got boop, 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 boop. All right. So there are things that make a chapter complete. So whether that's long or short, the real thing is you're looking to see if you're getting the chapter elements in there. As long as all the chapter, and there's more than what I just mentioned, but as long as you get the chapter elements in there, the chapter will be as long as it needs to be. My suggestion with long and short is pace. So if you do write a chapter and it's really long, let's say it's like 5,000 words, okay? But it's not a fast read and it feels like it's starting and stopping, meaning like it actually feels like this might be more than one chapter, meaning you have your beginning, middle, and end, and it resolves, and you're like, oh. And then the next scene or the next startup feels like it has nothing really to do with the previous scene in any way. Well, you might be able to just take that scene and pop it into a different chapter, which is what we did here. The original first chapter of this story was the ship is landing and then crashes. They tow the ship back, and then she's having dinner with her family. Just saying that out loud, clearly they're not the same beat. So I took that first chapter and broke it up into 3 chapters. So those are things you're looking for, Hannah. But as far as how long, don't think of length when you're writing. Don't think of the word count when you're dealing with a 0 draft or a first draft. All that's going to be adjusted as you work it, as you slim the words down. In fact, you might get to a point where you're like, oh, this book is going to be 300,000 words. I want it to be 100,000 words. And then that's where you go, can I say this chapter stuff? Can I filter that through multiple chapters and therefore take a full chapter out, but then I'm still utilizing the information and just seeding it in smaller bites in other chapters? Those are some of the best ways to reduce your massive word count if you're worried about that. You give a lot of great tips and guides away. It can be kind of overwhelming. Your books will arrive this week. Are your teachings condensed in those books? I like the technical side of it. I would say the books are condensed, but they are full lessons. They are not like I don't write easy asides. I'm not like, you should outline. You should write a first draft. You should write a second. Like, I don't necessarily do that, but I explain things. So I set up like the thesis, then I explain the thesis, and then or the concept, and then I kind of talk through it, but it is concise. I would say it's concise, right? And I give good I give examples. Let's just say that. Like here's let's see. I've said it enough times so far, but it never hurts to say it again. Act 1 sets up the central conflict of a narrative. This includes, but isn't limited to, the world and its rules, who characters are, motivations and positions, and a central conflict itself. And, of course, sprinkle some sub-arcs in there for good measure. So that's sort of like how I write it, Things can't be challenged or reframed in the second act if they're not set up properly in Act 1. Thus, context is king, even more so in the first act. Without context, readers can get lost. And remember, readers enter narratives way before they know who characters are, and well after you, the author, have sat with these characters for days, months, and years. It's conversational, but I'm teaching like I would in a class or mentorship. Thank you for your answer. This question for me. Excellent. I'm glad I could help, my friend. I'm starting the. I mean, I can use your writing book can like a cooking book. Yeah, that is true. The writing book can be used because I do break it up the way I break up the chapters and the way I break up how I explain narrative. Just to be clear, anyone who doesn't know, this is not a book on you should outline. It's a book that explains narrative purpose and how a narrative works, and then sort of like the ebb and flow of a narrative and things you should be thinking about if you're pantsing. The second half of the book is outline. It does talk about outlining and my process of outlining, but it is mostly uh, an explanation of it. Like writing a chapter and checking the book like a recipe. Now I need to set this up. Yes, yes, it 100%. It's like that. It says these are the elements you're trying to express in plot point 1, which is the ordinary world. And then it says these are things you should think about when you're challenging those things in the inciting incident of plot point 2. Head flushing down the toilet, dream scene tomorrow. Hey, that's awesome. Flowers getting into it. Let's give you an I'll say it. He gives good examples as always. Oh, thank you so much, SB. I try to. If I can get, thank you for that, by the way. Thank you. If I can keep getting the jobs I'm getting by the 5th year of the baby, this baby will be paid off. If anything, if I fail, at least I got to see the galaxy. All right. This stuff I want to add a bit more. I do need to add a little bit more of that. I do need to do this. Add features, items, clean up the deck. All right, so that's for next time. But this actually is gonna go to another. I gotta put this in the other notes. All right. All right, there we go. Let's see how many words we got. 1396. There we go. All right, so right now, let's see where we're at. We're at, whoops. So the first 3 chapters comes out to 4,591 words for a first draft. That's not too bad. I wouldn't say that's too bad. Now, I'll be honest. When I get to the second draft, that's going to get a little thicker. And the reason is because we're going to add a little bit of more immersion. We're going to add a little bit of other things, etc., etc. So that's something to keep in mind. This is if I had made it to the next thing. All right, there we go. Boom. What do we got? What do we got? The book I'm reading at the moment, the author is Scottish and is using double quotes. Story set in UK. Hey, that's awesome. That's a good fact to let us know. Thank you very much, Flowers. Hey, Danny. New ideas are my constant distraction. Starting a short story a few weeks ago just so I could finish something. Just finished the 8th and final chapter at 9. You get a big applause for that. Everyone give Danny an applause. It's fantastic. I'd like to make it into a little YouTube audiobook and see how it does. Oh, please, for the love of God, when you do that and finish it, let me know so I can check it out and listen to it, okay? I'll absolutely support that. And share it. I will share it. All right. Yeah. Oh, so let's get to the poll. All right, so there's 15 votes right now. The poll is what drains your motivation to keep writing? We're working on the same story. We have pure burnout. Right now, that's at 13%. We have negative feedback, 0%. That actually makes me really happy because who cares what other people say? You know what I'm saying? All right. New story idea that excites me. Been there, done that. Long pause between writing sessions is 47. We're going to we're going to give everybody an opportunity to vote if you haven't voted. While we do that, I have, hey, there you go. There you go. Give you a... Let's talk about it real quick before we'll give everyone a little chance to jump in the vote. If you haven't done the vote, let me just do my spiel. Boom. If you didn't know, wait. 1 second. If you didn't know, I have some books at MegaRightLeftHere.com. You can check it out. Of course, we all know that Death of the King is the first book in the Maven War series, is currently and exclusively on the Patreon tier. You can go there and read it. If you sign up now, the whole first act is available. So that's 25 chapters you kind of get to read, but the chapters do release once a week, but there's a huge backlog right now. The book is done, so the chapters won't stop until the book ends. But more importantly, it's educational, so you learn a lot behind the scenes and my choices. We were just talking about this book. Again, it is not a you have to outline. It is, if you're a pantser or a plotter, it teaches you and educates the understanding of the narrative. And then, of course, the second half does focus on outlining using the 27 plot point outline, the short form outline, the extended outline, and a zero draft. And then I talk about my process. The other thing that you should keep in mind is this book is currently available on Amazon, or you can go to makearightlefthear.com. Breaking Down Success, Book 1, which brings me to Book 2 is currently being formatted. My goal is to get this book out June or July, but the second book is in the works. And of course, Legacy of Blood. My goal is to get this book, at least the quote-unquote first draft done, and get that on Patreon by the time Book 1 is done for everybody. If you didn't know, I am writing a noir. This is not the cover. It's just something so there's a visual. Altar of Lies has been going really great, and I appreciate all the support and the love that I've been getting, especially in emails and private messages. I am super excited about this book. I am flying through it. There will be an update on that probably tomorrow. All right. Other than that, remember to bloop that beard and bloop that like button. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and follow along. Definitely suffer from shiny new idea syndrome. Oh yeah, tell me about it. That's definitely I've been there. Nice hat. Oh, on the thing. Let me see. Oh yeah, it is a nice hat, right? The nice fedora. Thank you. Could you please put some books on Apple Books in Eastern Europe? They are hard to get, and shipment is okay. All right, that's great. I will look into Apple Books. I think it should be up, isn't it? Oh, you know why? You know why? I think I took the book, or because on Amazon you have to click something to do that. But since I was trying, I will look into it. I will look into doing Apple Books. Let me put a note. Let me put a note. All right, Apple Books. You know what? How do you? Oh, let's see. Thomas J. Bellezza. Yeah, there's no match. All right, I will look into that. I will look into Apple Books and see what I could do about that. All right, let me put that. Go through. Boop. Okay. All right, that's safe for later. Is there a sexy priest in it in the noir book? There is a I don't call them priests, but there is a priest. There's definitely more than one priest in the book. Yes. The magpie. Ooh, the shinies. You are absolutely welcome, good sir. You are welcome. How's oh how is the kitty cat? Meow, 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 meow. The cat is fabulous. Love a sexy priest. Yeah, you gotta love. If you don't have a good sexy priest, what's the point of even reading? You know what I'm saying? All right. So, poll. Did we get any more votes in it? All right. So we have last place is negative feedback, even a little. I'm glad this, like I said, I'm glad this got 0 because at the end of the day, if somebody likes your stuff but doesn't like it, it doesn't matter. If somebody's not encouraging, like that's pretty sad. But I would say if somebody gave you good feedback, but it is negative, like you're like, hey, you shouldn't let that deter you from writing. You should allow that to motivate you and be like, you know what, that's a good note. Let me look into it. Doesn't mean I have to accept it, but let me look into it and see what the deal's. It's like whenever you got like a production note, like for a script, the best advice I ever heard was Mel Brooks said, you just say, yes, I will absolutely look into that. And then you don't. all they want to hear is that you heard them. Like, oh, this is a good note. I will definitely look into this. We'll see what we can do, and then they leave you alone. True story. Second, or I should say, third place is pure burnout. You know, I because I write a lot, I have several books I'm working on at any given time. I'm always writing for I'm always ahead of the as we call it, the queue. People are like, how do you get burned out? I go, because I don't write more than 2 hours a day. And that is the secret for me, is if I spent more than 2 hours a day on a book, I would be burnt out. But I'm also not trying to rush the process. So I have 2 hours, whatever I write in that 2 hours, whatever I brainstorm, whatever I outline, whatever I do in those 2 hours, that's what I'm going to do. And that allows me to have the freedom to not be overwhelmed by it or not feel like the thing is controlling me, but I am controlling the thing. And then, of course, we have, in second place, we have new story idea that excites me. I am there all the time. My secret to breaking from that and keeping motivated is I will do a short form outline for the new story idea. Sometimes I'll go into an extended outline, sometimes. But if I could get the outline out, then I feel good enough where I'm like, all right, that idea has a solid ground. I can go back to it and I'll know what's going on. And then I usually go back to the projects I am writing. And of course, the first place is long pause between writing sessions. Oh my God, this is so true. Yeah, just getting to that place where you're like, oh, I was in a movement. I was moving, I was writing, but now it's been a week, or it's been 2 weeks, or it's been 3 weeks, and you're just like, the anxiety of like getting back into that headspace and like, where was I, and like trying to get to, so agree. I so agree with that. I would absolutely pick long pause between writing sessions, if that. Yeah. Luckily, again, I try to write every day for 2 hours. You know, so it is something to think about. So there you go. And by the way, there's no wrong answers. It's just something to get us thinking and talking and having a conversation. She's asleep in the. Oh, Morticia's sleeping. All right, keep it down. Shh. Like with Apple Books, the look into it thing. Yeah. I'm gonna look into Apple Books and see what I could do with that. I'm gonna check that out. Yeah. All right. Oh, I have a cease. Okay. And then Hannah, we are wishing you much love and support with that. Please get through it, and hopefully it's all positive stuff that you don't have to worry about. I know people who stopped writing because of bad feedback. A lot of people don't know how to take. Yeah, I agree with that. And to be fair, I was like that when I was younger, and the only reason is because I grew up in a time where people were like, "That sucks," or "Why are you wasting your time?" Like my mother used to always say, "Get a job," even when I was younger. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm playing guitar. I'm playing with my band. Get a job." And the first time she was like, "I'm so proud of you," was when she saw me playing a stadium, basically. And she's like, "I'm so glad I encourage you to keep doing this." And I was like, but I fell so much in love with music that there was no such thing as criticism. Uh, there was advice, like if somebody was like, "Hey, you should try something else," or "That's not working," or and that kind of, I am as passionate about writing, if not more, that if somebody gives me feedback that is quote unquote negative or criticism, or it's pushing back on an idea, I listen. Not that I'm listening to go, all right, I have to change it because somebody said it. I listen because there's always validation in something, and anything that I could hear is good. You know what I'm saying? Because you want people to give you feedback because you don't know. It's like telling jokes. You don't know a joke's good until somebody laughs. And if you could get 10 people to laugh and it's a room of 15, that's a good joke. You know what I'm saying? You got 10 out of 15, that's a good joke. The joke's working. So it's good to get that feedback. So yeah, it's important. Drive the. Well, Hannah, we did all hope everything works out for you as always. I'm useless for the first 90 minutes of writing, on fire for the next 90, then done. Hey, if that's what works for you, Danny, that's definitely a great thing to keep in mind. If you know and understand what works for you, that's fantastic. I'm the same way. I had to learn, that I had to create those time blocks because it makes me write. And by the way, when I say write, I'm not always writing. I'm brainstorming, or I'm outlining, or I'm cleaning stuff up, or I'm editing, or I'm doing whatever. It's my book time. And since I have so many books, sometimes I'll do a half hour, half hour, half hour, half hour. If I have to speed up a book a little bit, I'll do like an hour, and then I'll do a half hour, half hour. Sometimes I do an hour, an hour. Sometimes I just do 2 hours on one book. So it's important. It's important to know what works for you and doesn't work for you. So that's good that you know that. She did plunk her bum on the keyboard, and I thought you might get another. Well, I'm just glad uh, the cat knows how to type. That's just really. Ghoul of TJB says he'll look into it. To us, he will. I will look into it. Because I'm a man of my word. I stopped telling my mom every story idea I have because sometimes she'll go, "That's been done, woman. Do something unique." I know she doesn't mean to, but it is very discouraging. If I may, Diana, uh, the interesting part is your mother is right. The story ideas have been told before, but there are only 7, and we've talked about this before. There are only so many stories you could tell, but what will always make it unique is your lens, is the way you see the world, feel the world, hear the world. The way you experience things is what will make your story unique. In fact, I would bet anything that if you wrote Pinocchio, okay, with Geppetto and the whole going into the whale thing, your version of Pinocchio, if you followed every plot point to the T, not the story, the plot point. Geppetto makes the doll. He wishes upon a star. Pinocchio comes alive. He wants to be a real boy. If he lies, his nose grows. Those are plot points. If you kept to those plot points but still wrote it through your lens, it would be a completely different story. The plot would exist, but the story would be uniquely yours. So yes, Pinocchio was already written. It's not unique, but it is unique for you to write it because that is the magic of creativity. No one has your mind. You may be like, I like oranges, but the way you like oranges is not the way everyone else likes oranges. Even if one person says, I like the way oranges feel, and you go, I also like oranges, how they feel. And they go, but I'm not too keen on the taste, but I will drink orange. And you go, oh, I love the taste. In fact, I enjoy pulp. And they go, ooh, pulp? I like no pulp. So you have some similarities, and that's the brilliance of being a human being, is that your experiences are unique. So take your mother's advice and be like, beep, 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 and you tell her, yes, mother, every story has been done already, but it hasn't been done the way I've told it. Very important. Amy, hey, what's up, Em? Just a silly Billy, hello. Em just jumps on for the entertainment part, not necessarily the work. Next week will be 7 p.m. Oh yeah, because the time jump for the Great Britain. Saturday will be 6 p.m. Oh, that was, to me, I feel like that was good. But let's be honest, I don't know. Arg. And your mother probably isn't your audience. Oh yes, yes, that's right. You know what? Your mother probably isn't your audience. In fact, your book isn't her book. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just not for them. I wanna be a puppet. What is it? I wanna be sedated. I wanna be a puppet. Okay. See now, I would make Pinocchio an adult, and he's created by a lonely woman who needs it. All right, there you go. There you go. That changes the plot a little bit, though. You are changing the plot a little bit. However, it's still been done before, but through your lens, how you explain Pinocchio as an adult, how you describe the way they experience things, how the lonely woman is experiencing the sense of loneliness, how all these things still makes it uniquely yours. Still makes it uniquely yours. And it's not as Now the crazy part would be if like Pinocchio is like, "Ma'am, I don't think you're very attractive." Oh no, no. He goes, "Ma'am, you are the most beautiful girl in the world." I'm just like, oh, I don't know how to take this. Now that would be funny. That would be fun. All right. Oh, my buttons weren't working. I like that idea. Write Pinocchio from first person and how he wants to be a real boy. That could be really good. I like your idea as well, Diana. Yeah, they're all ideas are interesting. You know, it's just the execution. Like get it out, try to see how it works. Welcome. Well, he's a real boy now. All right. Well, if you are doing a Scottish accent, it's pretty close. Scottish. That's the best. That's the best I could do. Scottish. When I was in acting, when I was on set, you would just hear people practicing different accents sometimes because, like, when you're in holding, you're just waiting. You know, you could be waiting for like 6 hours sometimes, getting paid for it, and they'd just be sitting in a chair and they'd have their earpiece and they'd be like, "It'll go up to bit, you know, they would trying to get out like these vowel sounds, and they're just trying to get accents down. Very funny to listen to, especially when it's a slow day. She likes the post-apocalyptic books. Well, you tell her. That's great. You know, whatever. She could do whatever she wants. She could like whatever she wants, right? But so's it grows for the oceans or stays permanently grown. Grown. But so's it grew for the occasional or stays it permanently grown. Naughty, naughty, give me a. You got a bad case. If Robert Jordan wrote Pinocchio, it would be super generic. If I ain't falling for your hook. She did like my mystery romance idea where the serial killer steals paintings and recreates them with his victim. Ooh, Diana, that's a fantastic concept. Mystery romance idea where the serial killer steals paintings and recreates them. Now, when you say romance, though, if it the fact that you have the word romance in there, if it is any ideal to be a romance, there has to be a happily ever after. So, who are the love? Who are the people who fall in love? It'd be great if the serial killer is the protagonist and they fall in love with somebody. The curator of the museums. Oh, I don't know. Don't let me interfere with your idea. That's a great idea. Play with your idea. That's good. Ooh, nice. Yeah, say good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, everybody. Let's talk about this coming week. This coming week, the serial killer and his future victim. Ooh. All right. All right. All right. All right. So Wednesday will be a video on outlining. It will go over the 13th plot point. That will be Wednesday. Friday. Wait, what's going on here? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah. Wednesday will be a plot point 13th video. Friday will be a we're doing the Right Mindset podcast. Deepa Anapare. Deepa Anapare will be my guest. She is an author. I had fun interviewing her, so we'll see what happens with that. And then Saturday is actually a request video. We're going to be talking about how do creators deal with being accused of using AI? Where are some things we could try to avoid so that we minimize the accusations? Not to say using AI or writing assistants is bad for everyone, but for those of us that take it as an insult, how can we not take it too harshly, and so forth and so forth. So we're going to actually talk about how to really focus your brain and not allow the AI epidemic, as we call it, to be affecting you. So I'm going to have fun with that video. And then, of course, Sunday will continue to be the Write a Book with me from Concept to Conception. All right, there you go. The love interest is one of the FBI agents, in charge of the investigation, and the other lead is a museum curator. who helps him figure out the code in the paint. Oh, so they're going after the serial killer. Oh, nice. I like it. I like it. I like it. See, there you go. That sounds like a good story. If I were you, I would work on that. If anything, outline it. You know, what is the short form outline? What does it look like? What are the beats? What are the beats? You should, Hannah. You should write a story about the full naked man dummy to see if it would be funny and a weird story. Go for it. There is no such thing as a bad idea, only an idea that isn't explored, worked, and played with. No pun intended. No pun intended. No pun intended. All right, everybody. I had a lot of fun. Is there anything else going on? Oh, you want to do questions? Do you have any questions? Let's get the questions on. Answering audience questions. Goes from DC to Idaho and involves a past. See, I'm liking this. You should be working on this, Diana. Work on your idea. You never want to just let an idea go and die. You know, you want to get some. You want to get some rhythm in there. Do 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 do. All right, everybody. Get some questions. Let me know. I'm glad we finished the first 3 chapters, which means we're going to be moving on to a chapter 2. Which, looking at chapter 2, by the way, for the sci-fi, it's going to work. Laura gets hijacked. They escaped. That feels like it could be one chapter, but we'll see. We shall see. We might have to split that up into 2 chapters. Or going to work and get hijacked. Actually, I might be able to get away with it. We'll see. We'll see. It just might be a longer chapter, and that's the thing. You know, when you're writing, if you have a couple of short chapters and then like one long chapter, or you have a couple long chapters and then maybe 1 or 2 short chapters, it's a real good palate cleanser, you know, when it comes to writing. I'm just saying. All right. A dark romance. Serial killer FBI agent as a future victim because she sprung him into high school where I have serial killer as girl. Look at that, Cindy. See, now here's an example. Diana has a concept, an idea, right? Boom, I love interest, all this, right? And then Cindy has an idea. And this is the genius and brilliance of writing. Like, creative writing could be anything you want it to be. And like Diana could write her story, right? And it has a lot of the same concepts. And if Cindy wrote the story that's inspired by those concepts, Cindy's ideas are not the same, right? And the way, even if they were the same, the way these two wonderful people would write their stories would be completely different. And that is what I'm saying. Like the fear, like, oh, somebody did it already, or you know, if you're worried about like, oh, is it going to be stealing? No, it's like jokes. You know, there's a difference between going, why the chicken cross the road to get to the other side. Now, if I tell that joke, if I go, hey, why did the chicken cross the road? And I go, I don't know why. And you go, to get to the other side. I am just telling that joke. But if I look at the joke and I go, all right, why did the chicken cross the road is the setup, and then I come up with a new response, an idea. If I maybe spin on it a little bit, right? Whatever the case. I mean, oh, he didn't. He is a chicken. He's afraid, you know, and his name is Bob. Whatever. You know, like that is the idea of storytelling is how do you add your touch to it, your fingerprint, as they say. So, you know, that's also got to keep that in mind. I tried a bit of mimic deep POV. It's bloody hard work. Yes, it is very. You're talking about first person, right? Or are you talking about the third person limited? Deep. Third person limited would be deep, yeah. To peck my brother. What mimic deep POV? How's that go? Okay. All right. just to be clear, this is when you avoid filter words, when it's single perspective, there's no head hopping, and it's real time experience. That is hard. It feels like the action is happening right now, forcing the reader to react. Show don't tell. Instead of telling the reader the character's afraid, they always go, "Oh, this is yeah." This style is often called shallow or first person and third person clothing because it uses third person pronouns while maintaining the tight intimacy of first person perspective. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's yes. Yes. I don't know what that is either. Well, there you go. I just explained. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the right mindset. That's the one, Thomas. My brain is scrambled. Yes, yes, yes. Look, if I were you, as you're writing it, try not to worry about the extreme details of writing in that style. Just write that zero draft or first draft out, and then when you go back for the second and third draft, that's when you start kind of molding it. You know, it's like you take a sheet of steel, right, and then you don't try to mold a sheet of steel into a sword. The first step is you got to make a rough cut of it. You got to get yourself a smaller piece of the sheet. You take a small piece from the sheet, right? Then you got to sort of angle it and start kind of getting those rough hits in. You got to heat it. You got to temper the, right? You got to do all these different things. And once the sword gets closer and closer to what a sword looks like, that's when you start getting into the fine reality of it. That's when you start getting into making that sword more than what it is, right? So think about that approach when you're writing in that way, and maybe that'll help you get through it a little bit more, because that fine, deeper POV of maintaining first person while writing in third person limited and going through more, there's a lot more internal or there's a lot more internal free discourses, right, going on in those passages when you're writing like that. But my point is, don't worry about that on your first pass. Just get the idea onto the page, and then when you're working it and rewriting and cleaning it, that's when you start going, oh, I have some filter words here. Looked is a filter word. Heard is a filter word. So that's something to think about. That was a good one, Afghani. Yeah, I need to need the temperament to do the tempering. You got it. You got this. I'm proud of you. All right. We had a good day today. There we go. All right. So no questions. No questions. No questions. There's no questions. You can do it. What else? That's it. I think we're done. You want to? We can call it done. Let me close this out. Close that out. The schedule is set up. I'll upload that tomorrow. Close that out. Gotta close this. Close that. There we go. All right. I had lots of fun, my friends. All right, I'm gonna go. It's Sunday. It's almost 4 o'clock. Maybe I'll eat something. Let me get a little sippy of water. Other than that, I got a full week ahead of me. They're starting to advertise the class at the library, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So I've been working on that. You got to bloop that in. Have a great weekend. Thank you, bloop bloop. Goodbye, everybody. I had a lot of fun. Bloop the joint. Yes, bloop the joint. Become a member. All right, everyone. I'm out like a Girl Scout. As always, much love. I really had a lot of fun today. Truly. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. And as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.